The rules are changing yet again, this time in a way that ought to make life easier on Matt Rhule in Nebraska. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Nebraska, your daily Nebraska Cornhuskers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good morning, and thanks for making Locked On Nebraska your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins.
All right, welcome. It is Thursday. Connor Happer here from 1620 The Zone and Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Yesterday, there was some more news-ish, or at least an update to the news, and the thing that we've been following for a while. So over the last several weeks, as we've heard from Matt Rhule on the topic of roster limits and what's going to happen with the House settlement and when this all will come to fruition, he has basically laid out that he has never been more convinced that Nebraska will be required to have only 105 people on its roster come this fall. And because of that, there have been some changes that have come. Now they haven't completely cut down to 105 yet, but this is part of the reason why they did what they did with the spring game. And there is now going to be a football element. And we talked about how Matt Rhule was sort of emotional about it and wanted those guys to get an opportunity. Well, Mitch, the update is that yesterday, U.S. District Judge Claudia Wilkin, who is presiding over this case, and the two sides have been working on a settlement for quite some time now. She sent it back a couple weeks ago and said, "I'm not sure that it's a good idea to implement the roster limits right away, hard cut." And then they came back, and yesterday she said that she would basically deny the settlement. She would turn it down. She would shut down the settlement.
She would trash it. She would throw it out. They would have to go to trial in order to get this thing through.
And if they don't figure it out how to grandfather this in the roster limits in the next 14 days and present it to the judge, then she will do just that. She will trash it, and then they will have to go to trial or start over. So this is a significant development in the case because it means that Nebraska, among many other programs, will likely not have to deal with the hard cut to 105 this fall.
Well, also wouldn't be dealing with revenue sharing. So that $20 million that you set aside to pay players, athletes in the 2025-26 sports calendar year, that's not happening. No, I don't think they can funnel that to 1890. Like, that money's just going to sit there and nobody's getting paid that money if she throws out the case. We don't think she's going to throw out the case, though. We think that the defendants in this case, so the plaintiffs in this case are the student athletes, essentially their representatives. The defendants are the NCAA and all of the conferences in college football. We think the defendants will find a way over the next 14 days to appease the judge and come up with a plan that allows student athletes who are currently on rosters to not count against the roster limits. The
most likely scenario is that they're able to figure out a way to appease the judge and she accepts the settlement. And then most of the things that we've been talking about for the last several months that come along with this case, along with chiefly revenue sharing with the student athletes, go into effect later this summer. But there will be, if it turns out that way, there will be a grandfathering clause of the roster limits. And this matters specifically as it pertains to college football and specifically, even more so than that, college football at places that have strong walk-on programs. And Nebraska is, traditionally, historically one of those programs. And they have carried 130, 140, 150 players on its roster for a very long time now, with some dips over the last 20 years, just in various cases. But they're in the neighborhood of 130, as we talked about, and And if it goes the way that Mitch and I think it's going to go, they might not have to worry about these tough conversations that much.
Yeah, what's funny is like this involves all sports. So all sports across the spectrum in college athletics are going to have a roster limit if the House settlement were to pass, were to be approved by the judge.
In some cases, the limits go up.
Yeah, in some cases, nobody's complaining at all about opportunities being lost. Like in volleyball, women's volleyball, the roster limit is 18, and I don't know that any program is going to carry 18. But in baseball, in college baseball, what is it? It goes down to 31. The roster limit would be 31.
It's interesting in baseball because baseball for a long time has had 11.7 scholarships dedicated to it, and now you're going to have the ability to give your players, whatever the number is. I think it's like you said, 31 scholarships.
But nobody's doing that, because that comes out of the 20 million and it takes away from your football budget.
There's going to be the SEC with more than 11.
They'll have more than the Big Ten or the MAC. Yeah.
Right.
Where it gets really just kind of juicy and interesting, we consider that it's April 24th, and Claudia Wilken, the judge, wrote Wednesday that the court will only approve the settlement if the handling of roster limits is, quote, fair, reasonable, and adequate as it relates to current college athletes. And I just feel like we're back here in the back of the classroom, like raising our hand saying, hello. Yeah, we've been talking about this since the middle of last year when the House settlement became a thing. And and there was this reality starting to set in that programs, it's not just Nebraska, like Big Ten programs that traditionally carry 120 to 150 players, all of a sudden we're going to have to kick a bunch of players off the team. Like this doesn't seem fair, reasonable, and adequate. And if you're paying attention, you didn't just come to that realization on April 23rd or April 15th or April 1st. You should have known it in 2024. But here we are 4 months from the start of the football season. And finally, this is the moment where the NCAA and the conferences have no choice but to just grandfather the current players in. What it's going to do for Nebraska, like you said, it's going to alleviate a lot of these difficult conversations if she passes if she approves the change terms. It's going to alleviate a lot of these difficult conversations. Actually, if she doesn't, it'll still alleviate the conversations because there will be no roster limit.
Exactly.
So, yeah. And a couple of myths that I wanted to dispel with this. One, the judge is not against roster limits. There's eventually going to be a 105 player limit in football. It might be 2027 or 2028 before they scale it down to 105. Like it could be 120 to 115, 110, and then 105, or it might be based on the size of your current roster. But they're going to get to 105. So she's not against roster limits. She's against implementing roster limits immediately.
Yep.
Second, this ruling does not save the Nebraska walk-on program. The Nebraska walk-on program is still dead in the water 5 years from now. You're still going to have 105 players on the team. You might have a couple walk-ons. You might have a few walk-ons, traditional walk-ons who are getting nothing in terms of scholarship, revenue sharing, NIL, but that number is going to be very, very small, and it'll look nothing like what it has for the last 50 years.
Yeah, it gives it life support just in terms of the people who are going to be on the roster, this coming year.
This year.
If we go the way that we think it's going to go. I have a question for you, Mitch. This is sort of like off to the side a little bit of this topic. What do you think will be the moment that, because you sort of laid it out where it doesn't feel real and nobody really knows what, all the things that the House settlement is going to entail and what college football is going to look like, or what college basketball is going to look like, or what athletic departments, or however you view college athletics. Like, people are wondering what changes for me. What do you think will be that? What do you think will be that sort of lightning rod thing of like, whoa, this is the way this is now?
Great question.
I wonder what people will look at, this summer and this fall and say, this is way different than the thing that I signed up for.
It depends what kind of a fan you are. It depends what your perspective. Yeah, football is going to look the same. if all you're interested in, like Matt Rhule has said many times this spring, and like the 3 letters that are scrolled across the Husker Vision screens at Memorial Stadium every time Nebraska practices inside this spring that say WIN in giant letters. If that's what you care about, and I think that's what most fans care about at the end of the day, then it really doesn't matter that much at all. But if you care about how they get there, and like you're invested in Nebraska football in a way where when the new recruits come in, a lot of people care about recruiting, and I think this is a way to relate it to fans. If you care about recruiting and you follow it and you pay attention to it and you're interested in who Nebraska's chasing and who they sign, used to be in February, now it's in December. And one of the things that you enjoyed was looking at the list and seeing 15 walk-ons at the bottom of it. And these are preferred walk-ons that Nebraska has agreed to whatever agreements with. They've been admitted to school. That's the way they used to announce it. And you like looking around and, oh, look, there's a kid from Omaha Skutt. I saw him play, or I saw him on the news. There's a kid from from Grand Island Northwest. That's great. I love that these small communities get to be involved in Nebraska football. There's a kid from McCook. There's a kid from Omaha Burke. Like, a lot of that's not happening. It's just done, gone, over. Nebraska announced 0 walk-ons in this 2025 recruiting class. And that's the way it's going to be in 2026, 2027, and moving forward, no matter what happens here with this little bump in the road that we encountered last night.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if people like college football for it. Like, people like different areas of it. So if recruiting and in-state recruiting is your thing, then great. I think people have fallen off that train a little bit over the last several years. Like, I think people are getting more into the business of it, and how that looks and things like that. I mean, this obviously changes athletic departments from a monetary standpoint tremendously. So there's that. But I think altogether, as we put a bow on this for now, the football will look like football. It'll just be missing some different pieces, and we'll see what happens after that. The basketball will look like basketball. The baseball will look like baseball, and they'll still be wearing Nebraska uniforms. So I think at the end of the day, that's what people are sort of into, maybe more than anything else.
Yeah. All right. We'll come back and see if there's anything else to discuss on this. But we want to get into what Matt Rhule had to say also on Wednesday about Shedeur Sanders. Why is he coming up right now? That's next.
But first, a word from our friends from the FanDuel Sportsbook, where the NBA playoffs are indeed here. And FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action right now. When you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. So FanDuel makes betting easy for you. You could pick your favorite team. You could pick you could go against the team that you despise here in the NBA playoffs. It's become a little bit of a crapshoot, but maybe there's an opportunity for you to jump in on that first $5 bet, especially here during this first round where the matchups are a little bit lopsided. And after the game tips off, you can combine live prop bets into a same game parlay. That's right, a live same game parlay for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com today and claim your $250 in bonus bets with FanDuel.
Welcome back. Thursday episode of the Locked On Nebraska podcast. I am Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Connor Happer, 1620 The Zone, is with me. Happy NFL draft. First round of the NFL draft tonight. Should be a national holiday, I think. You got plans. You sit down and watch the draft. There's some rain. It's a rainy day here in the Midwest, and I'm supposed to be on the ball field for some practice 7:30 to 9 tonight. Kind of hoping it rains and I can just sit on my couch and watch the first round.
It is the opening day of slow pitch softball season for me, so we'll see if that gets banged with the rain, which is basically how I've done the draft for the last several years. I will see on my phone what's going on while I'm playing slow pitch softball. It's long, and it's and there doesn't seem to be much drama with the number 1 pick. So I don't think the draft is really for me.
Okay. Hello, Cam Ward, number 1 pick, former Incarnate Word quarterback. I hope they should announce him from Incarnate Word.
That's right. Washington State.
Miami. Yeah. All right. I remember the 2020 draft, maybe my favorite draft of all time, when the commissioner was in his home office and the GMs and coaches and team presidents, team owners who were announcing the picks were like in their basements and bathrooms and such, things like that.
Horrendous. A horrible time for our country.
It was. I mean, certainly it was, but the draft was entertaining. It's also basically the end of spring practice at Nebraska. We'll get back to the draft in a second and connect it to Nebraska, but it's also the end of real practices at Nebraska. The Huskers will stage the Husker Games on Saturday, which we'll get to more in the third segment of this show. Some teases came out Wednesday on social media, but today's the last traditional practice. They'll be scrimmaging in the stadium, and it's taking place this morning. Matt Rhule wanted to do it under the lights and hold a scrimmage tonight, Thursday night, but in a very un-Matt Rhule-like kind of decision. He saw the weather forecast and said there's going to be a chance of rain, so let's move it back to the morning, the normal practice slot. The Matt Rhule that I know would want to practice in the rain or the snow or the cold or the wind, because that kind of stuff comes at you in the fall.
They were going to practice during the draft?
It's kind of weird, right?
Wow, that's a wild move.
He mentioned that on Tuesday that they wanted to they looked at going under the lights on Thursday for the scrimmage, unless I misunderstood it. I don't think I did. There's a threat of storms tonight, and you can't have practice or a scrimmage or a game, as we found out in 2018, in a thunderstorm. So they'll be going at it this morning, and then they'll be free to watch the draft tonight. And one of the players whose name they will presumably hear is Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders, who Nebraska saw up close in 2023 and in 2024. Huskers went 1-1 against the Buffs and Dion and Heisman Trophy winner Travis Hunter, who will definitively be a first-round selection. Shedeur will also be a first-round selection, but there's been a lot of debate about what teams should do with him. The best-case scenario for him is that he lands with the New York Giants, who have, I believe, the number 3 pick. Is it still the case as of Thursday morning?
That's right. Yes.
All right.
No trades yet.
So Pete Thamel of ESPN reached out to Matt Rhule this week and asked Rhule, as Thamel was doing with several college coaches, about Shedeur Sanders, because he's such a lightning rod as we go into the draft. And do you have do you happen to have the quotes that what Matt had to say about Shedeur?
Yeah, here we go. Pete Thamel called a few college coaches today who played Shedeur Sanders. Got an interesting one from Matt Rhule, who feels like Sanders would thrive in the New York spotlight. Quote, "I would take him number 3 overall without a question. I think he's tough. You could quote me on this. This is how strong I feel. He took 12 hits against us. 12 hits. I mean, by the way, this is definitely Matt Rhule saying this, because this sounds exactly like him.
Never miss the opportunity to pump up your own team. There you go.
There were 7 sacks. He's accurate. He's smart. He sees coverages. He can run if he has to. He's gone to 2 places that haven't won, and they won. Here's why, to me, he's the guy who can handle the spotlight in New York. He's the only person raised from childhood to know how to handle the spotlight. Who are some of the greatest quarterbacks ever in New York? Broadway Joe and Eli Manning. Shedeur was trained at the foot of his dad. He's got a completely different demeanor. The spotlight there is so large. I think he'll crush it."
That's cool. I like he missed the opportunity to talk about how Shedeur threw a pick 6 in the north end zone at Memorial Stadium, which is an impossible environment for any quarterback to operate in. So he shouldn't be
good one. Yeah,
he shouldn't be downgraded for that.
Exactly.
Hey, Matt Rhule has now thrown flowers at the feet of Scott Frost and Shedeur Sanders in a matter of like 48 hours this week. So
this is coming off, like you said, Shedeur's been a lightning rod. Did you see the quote this week from the NFL, the the longtime NFL assistant. This is what has garnered so much buzz this week. So this is from Tom Pelissero, who quoted a longtime NFL assistant. Shedeur was the worst formal interview I've ever been in my life. He's so entitled. He takes unnecessary sacks. He never plays on time. He has horrible body language. He blames teammates. But the biggest thing is he's not that good.
My goodness.
So that was a big quote. And yeah, he has been a bit of a lightning rod this week. And those are two, Matt Rhule and longtime NFL assistant, two people on the polar opposite sides, I think.
And of course, in response to the Thamel, to Thamel's tweet about Rhule, there were all of the Matt Rhule haters from Carolina or the NFC South rivals who said, you trust Matt Rhule with your first round. Matt Rhule and the Panthers actually had very good luck with their first round picks in the NFL during his 3 seasons there. And I don't know how much Rhule had some say in who they were taking for sure, but it's a different power structure. It was a different power structure for him in the NFL than what he enjoys at Nebraska. If Nebraska was drafting, which it kind of does in the new world of college football, Matt Rhule has the final say. Yeah, he didn't have that. He didn't have that in Charlotte.
Yeah, he's really played it. He has really played it nice with Colorado and Deion Sanders. I was hoping, the game's over, the series is over for now. They're back on the schedule at some point, but who knows? Non-conference games are getting canceled all over the place. I was hoping that he would just, throw Husker fans a bone. You got the last win in the series. Why not give them some red meat and be like, yeah, I don't know, or maybe just no comment. I have no idea what that would have looked like.
He didn't have to comment, and nobody would have ever known that he was called.
That's true.
That's the thing.
But he prays on Shedeur Sanders, which opens him up for a whole bunch of criticism elsewhere.
He's a New Yorker, a New York native, and a former Giants assistant. So he's got some skin in the game too, to say that. Like, I don't think he's going to influence the Giants' decision here at number 3. But if they do take him and it doesn't work out, well, nobody's going to remember what Matt Rhule had to say in April of 2025. One thing quick to mention before we take a break. I wrote today in The Athletic about Rhule's ability to implement change amid the changing times in college athletics. And as we saw Wednesday, it changes every day. So Rhule has had to buck tradition multiple times, like canceling the big non-conference series against Tennessee, doing away with the spring game, shifting philosophies on in-state recruiting. And it's been kind of fascinating to watch how smooth he's been in getting people to buy in. So I went and talked to former Husker Jay Foreman, who has a role on some kind of a role. There's like an action figure, I think. I don't know if that's real, of him that was made, at least digitally, to ahead of the Husker Games on Saturday. I talked to Haven Fields. This is the first time I've interviewed Haven Fields in his year at Nebraska. I've spoken with him many times, but talked on the record with him about his observation of Rhule. Haven Fields is the COO of Nebraska Athletics, deputy AD. He's the administrator in charge of football. So Matt Rhule reports directly to him, and then also to Troy Dannon, of course, kind of second in charge in the athletic department. And he played at Auburn, worked at Auburn, Illinois, and Washington, Ball State. So interesting to get Haven Fields, his view, and Jay Foreman's view kind of on what Matt Rhule has done and how he's pulled this off this year to guide Nebraska through changing times and implement a lot of change here in Lincoln too.
Yeah, he's certainly done it amid a whole slew of changes that are still being implemented around him in college athletics. All right, let's take a break here. A couple things to get to as we round things up on the other side. It is the Locked On Nebraska podcast.
Got something for you here from Amazon Fire TV. So did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? I did not until I read this for the first time, saw this for the first time a week ago. You can turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 2025 to Call of Duty, Black Ops 6, and Avowed. As easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. Amazon Fire TV, in addition to that, delivers endless entertainment with 4K streaming. Watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscription services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and more. We do it at my house. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire Stick 4K, second generation, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, first and second generation, and Fire TV Cube, third generation.
All right, it's Thursday, so it is our obligatory time to tell you that this is your last opportunity to get questions in for the mailbag show, which will be tomorrow. Any lingering questions from spring ball, questions about life, baseball, what the Royals are up to next, you can send them our way, and we will unpack the mailbag tomorrow on the show. A couple of Husker Games things. So we got a list of some events and some participants in some events during the Husker Games coming up. So a few things here. There will be a race, a fastest skill guy race. Malcolm Hartzog, Andrew Marshall, Ja'Cory Barney, Emmett Johnson, and Donovan Jones are slated for that event right now.
They're involved. There might be some others. I don't know if they're going to do heats, if they're going to time each player individually, if they're running a 40, if they're running 100. We don't know. This was just kind of a cryptic post that came out from Nebraska where they showed Matt Rhule in front of the team announcing some of this stuff. And of course, each one of these players said on camera that he would win. So just a tease there. There will be a fastest skill player and a fastest offensive lineman competition.
Now this is exciting. Yeah. Fast guys running. That's great. I want to see the big dudes running. Elijah Pritchett, Jake Peters, and Justin Evans all slated for the fastest offensive line race at the moment. We'll see if they can get any more in that. There will be some agility drills featuring Emmett Johnson, Ja'Cory Barney, Heinrich Harburg, a few of the best athletes on the team right there. But
maybe some more. Just there'll be some surprises, and I think there's going to be other competitions. Like they're going to have the QB throwing competition that we've seen at the Pro Bowl, where like the target is moving. They have a big X on some moving thing out there at the stadium. That'll be going on.
And then there's the roping and the fun stuff.
We saw video Thursday of Nebraska defensive lineman Elijah Judy from North Philly. Video of him roping and hitting a stationary calf or bull, whatever it might have been. Nice. So he's getting some work in, some practice ahead of the Husker Games. We know that Heinrich Harburg is also involved in the roping challenge. He was throwing shade at John Cook, the former Nebraska volleyball coach, for whom this competition is named after, on social media. I assume Cook's going to be involved. Like he's going to run this thing, or he's going to rope him. He's going to himself be a roper. But I would think that Heinrich, he's a rural Nebraska kid. He can probably do that.
I would say that he's probably got a chance, but I don't know that it's any better than anybody else. I'm excited. And one thing that they have done with these events is, like there's, like you mentioned, there have been some tease videos out there over the last couple of days, and just some, the players seem excited about it, right? Which gets people excited about it. So they've done a good job from that perspective. One thing that I'm mildly excited about is the list of people that are going to be involved in the wings eating contest. So there is your big guys, your offensive linemen, Rocco Spindler, Brock Knudsen, Riley Van Poppel is going to be involved. And then how about this? A couple coaches get involved. New defensive line coach Terry Braden is going to be in there. Gus Felder, the director of player development, he's a big man.
I think so. Somebody said his name. I think it was when Rocco was talking. He was like previewing others who were involved, and he's the one who spilled the beans on Van Poppel and Brock. And we saw Brock in the video, but he said Gus, and Gus Felder's the only Gus that I know of associated with the program.
Yeah, he's the only Gus in there. I didn't see this video, by the way, so I'm going to take your word for it on all of these things. And then
Braden's definitely doing it.
We did get a in that a little guy, Derek Branch, is going to take place. Yeah. He's gonna compete in the wing eating contest, and it would be amazing if he win one for the little guys.
I would say watch out for Brock Knutson on this, from Scottsbluff, Nebraska. Brock and his family are professional tailgaters. I'm not sure if you're aware of this.
Whoa, no.
Yeah, they've got some. They make mobile tailgating setups that they have then towed along the road along I-80 to Lincoln for games and set up down in the rail yard area.
Yeah.
So this is a big thing. Like I talked to Brock about this way back when he committed to Nebraska when he was still in high school, and he was telling me about his family and how they're professional tailgaters. And then I have seen it. I've seen it occur in Lincoln. So I would suspect that he can put down some wings as a result of those experiences in his life. Now, the others also, Terry Braden was very confident in his quick video appearance, the new Nebraska D-line coach. He comes from Kansas City. The guy's lived in Kansas City for the last decade or so. And, wings can be considered like a part of the barbecue fabric. So if you've been in Kansas City all that time, we know that he can throw down some barbecue, and maybe wings are his specialty.
Okay, I'm excited to find out. Quick prediction. We could talk about this tomorrow on the show briefly. Quick prediction, Mitch. Obviously, it's not going to be tonight, I don't think, for any Huskers. When does the first Husker come off the board? And I assume we both think it's Ty Robinson.
Ty Robinson. I'm going to say he's fourth round. So that'd be a Saturday pick.
Yeah, I was thinking fourth or fifth or something like that. I think there's some people who, who think that we'll see how many get drafted, because once you get past like the fifth round, it's a real crapshoot on whether you're going to get picked or not, and it's just got to take the right situation. So we could talk about that a little bit on the mailbag show tomorrow. Once again, get your questions in. And we will round out the week that way. Appreciate you making Locked On Nebraska your first listen today. For your second listen, Locked On NFL Draft is there for you. They'll be keeping you updated all this weekend with all the happenings of the draft. Find Locked On NFL Draft on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.